Hi guys and welcome back to the Average Pundits podcast, your home of all things Premier League. Not a team-based topic today, more of a person and scenario topic. Very interesting, very newsworthy. As always, I am joined by Reese. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good. Very good. Very interesting topic today. One that I think is definitely needed to be covered with the latest news coming out from various sources. And if you want to name, because I know that this is very near and dear to your heart, Mr. Brody. So if you want to go and name what we're going to be talking about today.
Very near and dear, very. The player in question is Paul Pogba. If you live under a rock, again, everyone probably knows this by now, but Pogba's super agent, Mino Raiola, a notorious Bond villain-esque figure in kind of football agent worlds, came out. I think it was in Italy. They caught him. They asked him a question about Pogba, and he was like, "Oh, Pogba with United's done. It's over. He's definitely was 100% going. All stuff. He wants to leave. He's done with the club." I just saw it. I saw the news. And I could not believe it. I mean, I could do. It's Raiola and Pogba flirting with leaving. You know, it's every single season. You know, so it's nothing to be surprised about. But I mean, I was expecting Pogba to be on his bike soon. I mean, but it's how you leave a club a lot of the time. It's how you leave the legacy. And there's no doubt that he is a fantastic footballer. He can definitely turn it on. And he's been doing it for a very long time. And everyone's saying, oh, the United story was never a success. You know, it was nothing like what he was like at Juventus. There's different factors at play. I mean, one factor, which I would just put straight out there, as always, we talk about the Premier League, the best league in world football as a standard. That is just the standard. It's not just opinion. That's fact. It's the most competitive league. Anything can happen in the Premier League. He was in Italy over at Juventus, so the best club by a country mile in Italy, surrounded by talent. You know, United have been going through peaks and troughs, even before Pogba was brought back into the club. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, Pogba, a success story at United. I don't know what your opinion is of that. I mean, I think it's kind of harsh to say no because, he brought him. He didn't carry us to a Champions League. He hasn't carried us to Club World Cups and stuff. You know, we won a Europa League with him. He has had his hands on silverware whilst he's been at the club. I don't know what your opinion is.
I think with Paul Pogba, he is a fantastic player, but you've got to be able to build the team around him as well and have the players to provide for Mr. Paul Pogba as well. And I don't think that's, obviously there's a lot of class within this United team, and I don't think he's had enough opportunity to show his flair. It's only since Bruno Fernandes came in and him and Pogba started teaming up that Pogba started to show some glimmer again. I mean, you look at him in the French squad with the World Cup win. He was a class player, but for some reason it just didn't work in the Manchester United system. And I don't know whether it's lack of good management, lack of firepower within the squad. But yeah, the Pogba's journey at Manchester United has been very underwhelming.
I don't know. I don't know if that's harsh. I mean, the obviously, being part of that France squad with just untold bags of talent, and he went on to lift the World Cup and stuff. But in every single position on that pitch was the best, arguably the best of the best in world football. It was left wingers that were competing with as the best left winger, right wingers competing as the best right wingers. Same with the strikers, all over the pitch. I could go through every single position. There were players challenging for the best in the world in that particular role, and I definitely feel like as central midfielders go, he is in the conversation a lot of the time. A lot of people do bring him up, but like you said, maybe his United time has been quite underwhelming because, like we said, we've had constant managerial changes. We've had big managers at the club. Since he's been there, obviously it's just been Jose and Ole, but prior to him joining, obviously Van Gaal was there before, Moyes and Ferguson and everything. But it's been a lot of trial and error with bringing players in and out of the club. And I feel like a lot of players were maybe tempted to come and play for the club because of the name, but after the form isn't there, you have to work on other things. And I think bringing Pogba in was a massive coup. It was a big pull in. We were always going to have to pay a premium. Obviously, he was our player originally before we messed up. That's I'm sure that is a mistake which Alex Ferguson can look back and think, possibly he would have been worth keeping around, but we messed up. We wanted him back. We're going to have to pay the money for him. And obviously, Juventus, as a European elite club, they're not going to want a cheap fee. So the 100 million euro price tag fee, it was like 87 million, that we paid for him. And the amount of money, from a business deal, one of the most marketable players in world football. It's one of the first few episodes we did of the Average Pundits, when we covered marketable footballers very early on and from the first season. So if you haven't seen that, always go back and check that out, because we do talk about Paul Pogba in that. But, brings in so much money for United, and he was a key player for us. But you say it really wasn't until Bruno came in that he was able to free himself up and work with the creativity. But honestly, I think like Bruno and him together have looked very good. But at the same time, I saw a tweet earlier, and it was like Bruno's done more in 12 months for United than Pogba has in 4 years. And I feel like it was very harsh. I think Pogba has done an awful lot. But, it's getting to the stage now where I think a lot of United fans are really sad to see him go. But I think it's more of a case now. I mean, even more now with these comments fueling the fire. But it was, even if these comments hadn't come out, if he was leaving more naturally and went to a good place, we got a fee for him, or we got some good players in return, I would be okay with it. I would genuinely be okay with it. And it is looking like, based on these comments, that he could be bound for the exit door. I mean, I don't know if you could see him at another club in the Prem, Reece.
Not another club not another club in the Prem. Absolutely not. I mean, the only team that would probably go for him is Manchester City. And if you are looking to that, I don't think Manchester United would let him go to City for anything other than extortionate price. That you'd think that Manchester City are wasting their money. But no, I couldn't see him at any other team in the Premier League. Not a chance. I mean, Spain or France would be the most likely of destinations I would see, unless he goes back to Juventus to play with Cristiano Ronaldo. I know that he's a massive name in Italy, and why not make the return back to Juventus and team up with arguably one of the best strikers on the planet. Could be bound for Real Madrid, team up with Toni Kroos. Luka Modric is getting older. Or home nation of France, PSG. That could be another destination for him. I think he could be comfortable there, and there's a lot of talent there. And also, another one of Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, another one of his clients, in Verratti, it also plays for PSG. So that could be a nice little link up there in that midfield.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with some of the clubs. Obviously, Man City being the only real club in England who I could also realistically see throwing their hat in the ring for Paul Pogba, but it's not going to happen. So that one could pretty much be ruled out of the conversation. I think Juventus and Real Madrid would be the favourites front runners, I'd say. PSG certainly have to be in that conversation, and I think possibly to a lesser extent Barcelona as well. I think there's 4 clubs really which could. There's the ties, like you said already, with Juventus. He's played there before. He knows a lot of the people who are still at the club. And there is always the chance to go back and link up with Cristiano Ronaldo, which I think would be a lot of players, dreams to go and play with Ronaldo on a pitch. Same story over at Barcelona. But, I mean, Barcelona is still a real questionable club right now in terms of in European competition, doing pretty good performances. But in La Liga, it's a bit topsy-turvy. So I feel like, once the club have got their head screwed back on and they know actually what's happening with everybody, maybe then could they start thinking about signings. But PSG and the chance to return home, or Real Madrid, I think, PSG, Real Madrid, Juventus, I think are the top 3. But, that's maybe for something that we could cover in January or the summer. You never know when Pogba could be bound for this exit door. But the fact is, the reason why we are talking about it, as we said before, is that Raiola came out and he made these comments essentially on Pogba's behalf. And this isn't something which is necessarily a surprise from him. A lot of pundits have come out and made very, direct criticisms of Mino Raiola and how he acts and how he, talks on behalf of his clients. And it's mainly when Pogba's name comes up. Pogba is certainly his maybe biggest profile kind of person he represents, possibly, depending on your opinion, but definitely with his fan base and his marketability, he's whenever his name gets mentioned, people are gonna come flock and see what Mino Raiola has to say about Pogba. And as we said before, kind of ambushed in Italy, and he kind of just gives this answer on the fly. I'm not sure if he wasn't really thinking or if he just does not care. I mean, do you think Pogba cleared this with him, or do you think this is just Raiola going renegade and doing what he's done, before in the past?
Yeah, I think you've hit it. When you introed then, just he's gone a bit renegade. I think he's kind of he hasn't really thought about his answer and he's just spurted it out. I'm guessing he's going to be regretting that now. I'm guessing Paul Pogba is going to be a bit annoyed at that because his chances of being back in the United squad to play some regular football are potentially out of the window and, like himself, out the door. So I think that his chance to escape will be January. He's hoping now because he won't get any football. But I mean, would Raiola have made this mistake with any of his other agents, or is this just a massive ploy to get Pogba either more money or more game time? Because that could be a thing. I think that Pogba might have cleared it with Raiola to be like, look, I want more game time. Let's get United talking.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, he's not really, he's clearly not a shy guy. He will come out and say these things, whenever he kind of wants to. And the scary thought is if Pogba was aware of these comments prior to him making them, which is, something that you think, oh, well, players and agents are always in cahoots, but Raiola also is the kind of guy who would just say it. And it is very on the cusp. So if Pogba was aware of it, there's no way he can be playing. There's no way. And I'm saying this on the back. We always record on a Tuesday, if you guys weren't familiar, ready to release on the Wednesday for you. Tonight, United take on Leipzig away from home in the Champions League. Last, really important game for us. We need to make sure we kind of nail this one home. And Paul Pogba's name could well and truly be on the team sheet. Now, after these comments, personally, I wouldn't have him anywhere near the team. I really wouldn't. Not just from a disappointed United standpoint, because, if Pogba goes, I really couldn't care less if he stays or he goes now, because if he goes, we just focus on rebuilding and filling his shoes he left. So that's absolutely fine with me. But it just undermines the team, and it also undermines Solskjaer. And Solskjaer is a manager right now who he does not need the added media criticism in other areas. He's already getting blasted by every club's fan base in the Premier League on Twitter. I'm saying this off about me. We won 3-1 on the weekend, a game which Paul Pogba scored in, and if you haven't seen the goal, it's a great goal. A little bit questionable in the build-up whether the ball went outside or outside the pitch or not. Again, VAR, but I can understand why, there wasn't really a camera angle capturing that. But Paul Pogba did score in that game. But for the first 45 minutes, alongside pretty much the majority of the other members of the team, we were terrible. And Pogba was one of the highlights of how bad we were in that game. He was horrendous. And then second half, Bruno comes on. Bruno and Rashford come on, and just the game changes. And a lot of that is Rashford as well. I'm not taking anything away from Rashford, but it showed how imperative Bruno was to us, which highlights how good a player he is and also highlights how many problems there are at United. So I think that was a very, illuminating game. I think you probably believe me when I say the hype now. Bruno is United's guy at the moment. He is the main guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fair to see. His vision is something that United have needed for some time. They would be a fool not to have, if they had to choose one of them, they'd be a fool to let Bruno, stay out of the team and Pogba get in the team. I mean, Pogba shows less consistency than Bruno, and Bruno is just time and time again he bails United out, whether it's scoring from the spot or whether it's creating amazing plays for the squad. So as you say, I'm gonna just repeat what you said. He is imperative, and it's interesting to see, as you mentioned, the Leipzig game tonight. Pogba is travelling with the team. These quotes, did they come out when they were travelling? That might have been quite an awkward plane ride.
Quite an awkward plane ride indeed. I mean, they were in the conversation over the weekend, and it's just such a difficult thing to navigate because Ollie has to walk the tightrope of keeping the talent and keeping the players that he needs to get the results, and also ruling with a bit of an iron fist. And I'm not sure what the club stance on this is because it is, it can very much make a club look weak if they don't respond well in these kind of situations. And for me, he wouldn't be starting. He would not be starting. I don't know if he maybe he'd be on the bench, but I don't know if he'd even come on, because if this is all true and everything, and Pogba does feel this way, which I pretty much assume he does, and I think everyone else kind of assumes the same thing, I think it's just done. It's just done now. And I think he would need to be kind of shifted on as soon as possible, because the second players start kind of coming out with these comments and throwing their toys out the pram like this, it's never going to end well. And wherever he goes next, it's going to be a big club. It will be. He does have one more, really big move in him. He is still a good player, and I know as well in my heart of hearts, I do know that wherever he goes, he's going to do well. I know he's going to do well. He's going to be part of a team with other players of really good caliber all around the pitch. If he goes to Spain, he's there in a league where there are 3 teams in it every year. Really, if he goes to Italy, there's like 2 teams in it every year. Or if he goes to France, there's 1. So, he's going to get way more results. He's going to get league titles. He's going to challenge more for European competition. And maybe that's what would shut Pogba up. I mean, do you think just going somewhere and having more fruitful opportunities and playing with a little bit more talent is going to be enough for him?
Yeah, 100%. You look at someone like Pogba. He loves the fancy style of play. He loves to show off. A situation, like a Spanish situation would be ideal for him. I'll throw a question back at you, being the United fan. You paid, about what was it, £87 million ish. Realistically, as a United fan, how much would you take for Paul Pogba in January?
Rough.
It's a tough question.
Rough question. Where would I value him at in terms of the actual valuation of a footballer? Anywhere between 60 plus.
Mm-hmm.
What I would personally take for him, I mean, if we would have sold him maybe a year and a bit ago, you're looking at around 100. Now I don't think we get 100 for him. I think we'd hold out quite high and we try and play hardball. But the thing is as well, is when these comments come in, it's not a question of, how much can we get? And if we keep him, it just means we get a really good player to keep in our squad. It's a case of we need to get him out. And his contract's running out, so we need to sell him. We don't want to lose him on a free, which I've had absolute nightmares of thinking, oh, God, we're going to lose him on a free and we're just going to, he's going to go and do amazing things again. We lost him on a free the first time. We bought him back for 100 million. We need to recoup some of that money. And that money needs to get just invested right back into the team. Right, currently, right now, creative midfield is very, very promising for us. Bruno is obviously incredible. I really like Van der Beek, and it's nice to start seeing him a little bit more. And my dream for United is to have a holding midfielder and then playing Donny and Bruno together. That's my favourite area. And Pogba, I don't see him involved in that. I just don't.
See, I have a deal, potentially, and I want to get your opinion on this, okay? Mm-hmm. So we've said that Pogba could be going to a numerous amount of countries. Yeah. And a guy that's very in form happens to be in Madrid. Not the Galactico side of Madrid, Atletico Madrid. And I wanted to, maybe give you 2 kind of deals. One includes money and one doesn't. Mm-hmm. One deal includes the Spanish midfielder Saul in a straight swap deal. And the other one is Marcus Llorente, who is that holding midfielder that you just said that you wanted, plus 40 million for Paul Pogba.
Yeah. If I was looking at that scenario that you just said, it's an interesting little scenario. If I was picking one of the 2 options, I think if I was going to be trading, Atletico have got some really good players right now. They really do. But I think they are tough to get players out of. And I think our chance to get something off Atletico was Thomas Partey in the summer. And he ended up wanting to go to a 16th place, whatever they are, Arsenal, fair enough. But I think we should have thrown a little bit more into that ring, because he would have been a very good addition to any Premier League club, I think. So a bit annoying there. But if I was going to take either of your two deals, I'm a big fan of Saul Niguez at Atletico. I've said that a few times before. But that, like you said, Llorente is also in very good form for them. So I would probably take Llorente and the 40 million, I think, if it was me. Saul is, as a straight swap, I think I'd want to get some money out of that deal. Not saying that Saul maybe isn't as good a player as Pogba. They're two different players. It's kind of hard to compare. But I think I would probably be taking the Llorente and money deal. But if it was me personally, like I said, the Partey type figure would be brilliant. But the kind of person that I'd want in the ideal scenario to beat him, to beat and to replace him, come into our squad straight away, and also kind of replace the aging Nemanja Matic role, and to offer a bit of competition to Fred and McTominay, I'd be wanting someone of, like, I've said it so many times before as well, like Wilfred Ndidi. Wilfred Ndidi, I think, is just the guy. He's just the guy that I would really be interested in. And there are other good DMs across Europe, but I think he deserves a European club regular.
See, I knew that was going to come out of your mouth as soon as you said that you wanted to hold him midfield. I was like, you might want to sell him to Real Madrid and get Wilfred Ndidi, or maybe even, I know the last time he was in the Premier League, he didn't do well at all, and he got relegated with Swansea. But playing in League One at the moment, he is lighting the world on fire, and that is Renato Sanchez. I mean, would that be a worthy, sort of investment for United to make, or do you think that would be quite tough for United to try and branch out?
I think that would be challenging, I think there are more established DMs in world football. I think one of the ones which I would be absolutely in awe of, one of my favourite players in Europe, which I don't know if I've actually mentioned on this podcast, because obviously we don't cover European football, we focus strictly on the Premier League, but Joshua Kimmich over at Bayern, he is one of my favourite footballers just on the play. He is so talented in so many different areas of the pitch. Literally just a regen of Philip Lahm.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, he is honestly a fantastic player. So it's the Kimmich, it's the Ndidi, it's that kind of character, like a prime Kante. It's so hard to find. Kante was a once in a lifetime grab for Chelsea off of Leicester, but it's this kind of player which I think what I would really like to see, as opposed to having someone directly like Pogba, because we've got creativity in Bruno, we've got also creativity in Donny van der Beek, who, if you've seen him on the football pitch, he just does not stop running. He is everywhere. So I would love to see those two be able to be given more creative reign and have a strong DM brought into the club. And Fred offers interesting things in that position. McTominay offers something different. Matic in his prime offered an awful lot there, but obviously as he's getting on a bit, it's almost unfair to put that much on him. And also we're not going to get the most out of our midfield if we're relying on an aging Matic. So we're going to have to focus on that come the transfer windows. But that is a very interesting little segment there of who we would be replacing Pogba with. But one kind of final thing I want to kind of lean on, going back to talking about this whole story stemmed from agents and agents in football. I want to know if you feel like the agents have almost too much power in football now, because in a lot of scenarios, like we see with Mino Raiola and Paul Pogba, before Raiola and Pogba were even in the conversation, it was Jordan Mendes and Ronaldo. And aside from being player and agent, or player and super agent, they were friends. They were very, very close friends. I think, was it Ronaldo bought Mendes an island? I'm pretty sure, like, he used to spend all sorts of money on each other, but I think Ronaldo might have bought Mendes an island. Don't hold me to that, but that was in the conversation. I'm pretty sure Ronaldo's got that kind of money, and that doesn't surprise me. But Ronaldo and Mendes were very good friends, as well as him being his agent. So, it's blurring the lines, and Raiola and Pogba are friendly as well. I'm sure it's always business first, but you've seen time and time again, there's pictures of them out eating at restaurants, having drinks together. I remember when Lukaku was joining Manchester United the night before there was like a Twitter story of a fan seeing him in the hotel in Manchester. I think it was in the Lowry Hotel in Manchester, and Lukaku, Pogba, and Raiola were there having kind of like a business meal. And I was going to say, this is nothing to do with the club, and it's like Pogba's kind of getting his mates through mates of his agent, doing kind of like the shady deals. And it was always around Lukaku joining. It was always hashtag Agent Pogba, Agent PP on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And it was interesting for the fans, but there was a lot of legs to it as well. So which is very interesting actually. So it's worth paying a bit of attention into that. But do you feel like agents do have too much power in football with the kind of the friendships they keep with the players?
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, I'm not the professional, or like, I don't claim to be any, sort of. Yeah, I don't know much about agents really. But I mean, I'm guessing not a lot of people will. The agents are, and clients, they've got their, I can't speak today.
Confidentiality.
There we go. Yeah, they've got that for a reason, and they don't exactly release that to the press too often. But yeah, I think that if Pogba wanted to link up with one of Raiola's, one of his clients, he could happily do that. And or if one of Raiola's clients wanted Pogba to join, they could happily do that because they are so friendly. And it could happen with anybody that's at any club that's part of this agency. I mean, super agents are now becoming more and more common, and I think that the more that happens, football's going to keep changing. I mean, who else is under Raiola at the minute? I think Erling Haaland is under Raiola at the moment. Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Yeah. I mean, Romelu Lukaku's still there. I'm pretty sure Memphis Depay is. There's a lot of really talented players, young players, talented players earning big amounts of money. And I think he tells them, I can get you more money. I can get you the best clubs. I can get you the best sponsorships, the kit deals, the brand deals, the clothes deals, all this stuff. I think he promises it to them all. And I think on a lot of his promises, he can come through with it. He's clearly good at his job, But, I don't know why clubs do business with him. I think it was ages ago I heard, like, I don't know if it was Rio Ferdinand or it was somebody who was talking about. It might have actually been. Now I'm saying it sounds like a very Roy Keane thing. It was like, I don't know why clubs just don't sever ties with him and don't do business with him. And I'm thinking, well, that is one method, but he also happens to represent some of the best, which is like, it's a bit of a tough situation because I'm sure there's going to be players we're interested in the future who are represented by Raiola, and we just have awful relations with him. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough because he could be there swaying his clients to go for other clubs and avoid us. So, it's a real tightrope walk, and there's no doubt in my mind that he is a football titan.
And there is as I've just said, he represents Erling Haaland, and if you want that world-class striker, you're not going to be able to get him if all the ties are cut with Raiola, with Manchester United.
Erling Haaland, for me, in my opinion, there's only two destinations for him. I think one of them is Manchester City. I think the other is Real Madrid. Real Madrid seems more, stereotypical. But I also think, and you can hear it here as an exclusive from me if it does happen, I think Erling Haaland to Manchester City makes so much sense. I think Aguero getting older, selling Gabriel Jesus, because selling Gabriel Jesus right now would be brilliant. They'd get a lot of money for him, and he'd be able to go and be the number one striker at a club, because I just don't think it's ever going to happen for him at City to be the number one. There's always going to be Aguero standing in the way. I think Haaland comes in. I think it was Haaland's dad who played for Manchester City before in the past. I think Pep would love him, and Pep's obviously signed this new contract with Manchester City. He's exactly the kind of player which I think Man City would absolutely thrive on. So I think if I was anything to do with Manchester City, I'd definitely be looking at him. But as you said, Mino Raiola definitely, he represents the biggest, baddest, and the best in world football. And he is certainly a controversial figure. And we would love to know what you think of the man Mino Raiola and Paul Pogba. And also where you think Paul Pogba could end up. Is he going to end up staying, with United? Who knows? Because the whole Paul Pogba and Manchester United saga is his tale as old as time, and there's been going ever since he joined the club. But as always, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Reese, for joining me as well.
I mean, it's always exciting to discuss, topics like these, especially when they are breaking. We've been talking about this today, and it's very interesting to see what will happen. It's going to be very awkward the next couple of weeks when we do hit to the January transfer window, which is going to be very exciting for us to cover. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Raiola and Paul Pogba and Manchester United going forward.
Yeah, it is indeed. And as always, guys, you can get a hold of us on our business email at theaveragepundits@outlook.com. If you want to make ever any inquiries to come on the podcast, we're always happy to have people on. You can also find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at The Average Pundits, and on Twitter at Pundits Average. And if you're streaming this, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. But thank you very much, as always, guys, and we will see you next time.